Welcome, my beautiful humans, to the Pan Talk podcast. I'm Joe Metzger, and this is the podcast for our pansexual, panromantic, and pangender lovies. I'll be having discussions with my co-host Anil Ratchandani, as well as interviewing my guests to learn more about their journey, and we'll talking about anything and everything in the queerverse. And if you don't identify as queer, don't worry, we want you here too. Please remember that this podcast is for those 18 and older, and some of the topics may be controversial. Trigger warnings will be in the description. Listener discretion is always advised. If you want to be a guest on Pan Talk, you can email us at pantalkpod@gmail.com. Without further ado, let's get queer. Welcome to the Pan Talk podcast, where the pancakes are always gluten-free. Today, my guest is Micah. Hey, Micah.
Hi.
How are things?
Going quite well. And yourself?
Going well. Nice day. So before we get started, let's do the pronoun orientation roll call.
Okay. Well, I'm Micah. My pronouns are he, him, they, them. And I am your friendly neighborhood pan polyam trans man.
Delicious. Absolutely delicious. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk about your story.
Sure.
So first off, how would you define the word pansexual? What does that mean to you?
Excuse me. So to me, being pan means that I'm attracted to people and not parts. I don't care how they present. I don't care what kind of genitals they have. I am more attracted to people. So I can find someone in any gender group that I like.
So you don't have any gender preferences at all?
I don't. Well, actually, I there is one group that I'm very much opposed to, but everyone else is pretty much fair game.
Think I know what this is talking about.
Yeah, cis dudes.
Yeah.
Cis dudes, I'm good on that. I've had my fill.
Wait a minute, what are you trying to say? No, I get it.
You just gotta work harder. You just gotta work a little harder.
A lot harder. You gotta work harder.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cis dudes, do better. All right, let's talk about those other words that you use. You also said polyamorous. What is that?
So polyamorous means that I am a non-monogamist. So I practice what's known as ethical non-monogamy. I identify as polyamorous, which means that I am not in one-on-one relationships. I'm single. I've been single for about a year now, but I don't do monogamy. So I practice what is known as relationship anarchy, which basically means I don't really do well with a lot of rules. You know, my number one priority is everyone's autonomy. And yeah, so I don't get jealous very much. I've been doing it for a long time. And yeah, I just encourage everyone that I'm involved with to do whatever makes them happy with whoever makes them happy. So yeah.
Really nice.
Oh,
and also identify as polyamorous, and it's a fun, complicated journey for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of pan folks in the polyamorous community. I've noticed you have to have a real high level of emotional maturity,
and you don't necessarily want to choose just one gender. You know, it's like I kind of don't want to choose.
Right. Just like I have a switch and like all this other stuff. Like
yes.
I want all the things with all the people. I'm also like, apparently like I'm a hedonist. So like just all the things, all of it. Yeah.
I used to think of that as a bad thing. And I think hedonism is not a bad thing. It just depends on if it's when you're completely abandoning yourself and then people around you. Yeah, that's bad. But you can also just go have fun and experience pleasure without any meaning. And it's not.
Right.
So I totally hear you with that. Like I'm learning to deprogram these words in my brain because they have that kind of judgmental, moralistic, like dogma attached to them.
As one does.
So like,
yes.
Try everything and see what sticks. Is what I say.
Exactly.
So let's get into your story. I'd love to hear about how, like, what your journey was to discovering that you were pansexual.
Oh gosh, how much time we got? Okay, so I was raised by a very conservative Mormon family. So as a child, I'm AFAB, so I was raised as a girl, and I was the only girl amongst 7 siblings. And a lot of the really weird dogmas placed on girls in that faith. So when I started to hit puberty, I realized that I was attracted to a lot of the girls. Like I wanted girlfriends and stuff like that. So at the time I started to like talking to other girls at school and stuff like that. I met another bisexual girl that was there and realized I was bisexual until I grew up and realized that I was actually pan. So was bisexual for a long time and then experienced the world a little bit and explored and pansexual all the way. Like I just, yeah.
So how would you define then bisexual, and what's the difference between the two of them for you, and why you changed your identity?
Well, as a trans person, the difference is a pretty big thing to me because of the binary. Exactly. So for me, when someone identifies themselves as bisexual, I kind of lose interest in them a little bit because and what I've in having these discussions with people, I've realized that people don't like change. Like they feel that they're pansexual, but they refuse to refer to themselves as such because that they fought the good fight to be identified as bisexual their whole life and whatever, and that's more important to them than including me in their identifiers as a trans person who does not fall on the binary. So in my experience, the big contrasting difference is that folks who are bisexual tend to have a gender preference. So they might not like trans people, they might not like men, they might not like women, they might like whatever their preference may be. And pansexuals just don't consider gender at all. So bisexual folks tend to do that a little bit more in my personal experience.
That's interesting. And the way I define my pansexuality is, I used to say I have no gender preference. Now I say I have no gender requirement. There are times where I'm more attracted to one gender than the other, but that doesn't, like, if I fall in love with somebody, I don't go, well, you're not the right gender, so take off. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. I fall in love with people, but there are certain things that are fun about different genders and playing with different people and how they identify, femme versus masculine in the middle or not at all. But that doesn't mean it's a requirement. It's like if someone's like, oh, I only date cis men or cis women, I have to question a lot about their. Right. That I have to question that. I don't like to judge people, but I have to question what's the motive behind that. What's the fear?
You're not gonna vibe. Like it's like I don't look at it as like I know. As a trans person, I understand it a tiny bit more. I still know that there's some level of inherent bigotry there, and they're just not ready to unpack that, and that's fine. That just means I'm not going to be around you, and it's no hair off my back or theirs. They're not going to care, and so like it's just one of those things where again, like being pansexual requires a very advanced level of emotional maturity that not a lot of people have, unfortunately. And that's not a dig. It's just I'm not compatible with a lot of people as a pansexual person. So
it's a different level.
Yes.
Not to say that level is makes us superior, but it's just a different perception.
Yeah. Quality over quantity.
Mm-hmm. The person's energy, how they.
Right.
For me, I need that even for sex. If I'm having a casual encounter, I need good energy. Mm-hmm. If I don't have that, it's like I'm polluting myself. And it's not that their energy is bad. It's that it's not a match for me.
Yeah,
and it's going to feel weird. I don't want to be intimate with this person's energy. It's just, It's like putting the wrong gas in your car. It's just not going to work so well.
Right.
So
now, don't get me wrong. There is something inherently enjoyable, because I'm a tiny bit petty. I have absolutely no problem sleeping with a transphobe, just so that I have something to weaponize against them at some point if I need it. You know what I mean? So you could be like that in public all you want to, but your dick was literally down my throat. So it's fine. It's fine. I know where you're at. It's cool. It's so I because I'm petty, I find that a little bit enjoyable. So
so do they not know that you're trans, or do they know?
Of course they
but
do.
It's some weird hypocrisy that they're like, oh, I hate trans people, but
Well, fetishizing trans people is a very common thing. Like, they have no problem sleeping with you behind closed doors, but, you know, in public, in front of their friends and family, they'll bash you and tell you you're a heathen and you're sick and you're mentally ill and this, that, and the other thing. They're not comfortable enough with themselves to admit openly that they find someone like me attractive.
The old mental illness accusation.
Yes, exactly.
I've never gotten that before. Ever.
Yes. Yep.
Jeez. How does being trans, I mean, we've kind of talked about this just now, but how does it relate to being pansexual and polyamorous? How do you find those all intertwined today?
Well, you know, being trans, you know, you kind of, again, there's a level of maturity there, and there's a fundamental understanding of gender when you're transgender. Like, you have this different perspective from, 98% of the population of gender. And granted, there are a lot of allies, but they could never truly understand it from a personal first-person perspective. So when I like to think that I was pretty woke before I realized I was trans, because I didn't come out until later in life. I just kind of started to realize that, you know, I like all the genitals. I like all the things. Yes. So why would I disqualify someone? I just can't bring myself to find anyone less attractive just because of their gender. Yeah. So it just kind of comes with the territory, I guess. That's not to say that all trans people are pansexual by any stretch. There are straight trans people, there are gay trans people, there are bisexual, they're all there. But this might be being a little conceited, but as a pansexual trans person, I feel like I'm just a little bit better than everybody else.
Coming back to that petty thing again. We talked about petty earlier. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, it's hard.
But I am a dude, so you got it. You know, I have a big head and an overinflated sense of self. So
men,
it comes with territory.
wait, men are like that?
No, I didn't say that. You said that.
Oh boy. Men, guys. Okay. Yeah, I totally hear that, and that was, for me, it made me very hesitant to date men. I'm like, I'm never gonna fall in love with a cis man. That's what it needed to happen. You know what I say when I tell the universe I'm never going to do something? It always happens right away. Or
hold my beer.
yeah, hold my beer. So I'm like, okay, we're going to self. Never say I'm never going to do something, because that's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So when was it that you came out as pansexual?
There wasn't really a moment when I came out. It just was sort of a realization that I just sort of started referring to myself as such. So I can't even pinpoint it in my mind. It just sort of happened in my early 20s. So I left home, I went into the military, went and did a bunch of stuff, and then just kind of realized when I heard pansexual, it just kind of fit, and I realized it fit. So just started using it. I think it was early 20s, somewhere in there.
And how old are you now?
37.
Okay. So it's been a journey. It's been almost a good 20 years. Yeah.
So don't. It still stings that I've been an adult for almost 20 years. So it sucks.
So when did you explore this concept of polyamory? When did that start?
Well, I don't know how familiar you are with polyamory. I think you're a little bit newer to the lifestyle, but so it started for me the same way it does for a lot of people. I was in a long-term relationship, and we started swinging and doing stuff like that. We were open sexually, but not necessarily romantically. And then when that relationship ended, I started exploring it more on my own, and just started to realize that for one, I'm a lot, and it's unrealistic to expect a single person to handle all of this all day, every day for the rest of our lives. The concept of that is just daunting for me, or for anyone else, I'm sure. I mean, we started swinging, and then I started going off and do my own thing, and realized that I'm actually really cool with having more than one serious relationship at a time, and I'm cool with my partners doing that too, because there are solo poly dynamics where one person is monogamous and the other partner is polyamorous with multiple partners. But I don't care. I realized I don't care. So just be happy, go do the things. I don't care. For me, it was just it's very anticlimactic, but it's just I just kind of realized I don't care anymore. In preparation for this, I wrote a list of pansexual celebrities, all of 3 hours of research. So some of them include everyone's favorite pansexual, Deadpool is pansexual. Miley Cyrus is pansexual. Ooh. Bob the drag queen.
Bob the drag queen. That's true.
Yeah, Bob the drag queen. Cara Delevingne. Tess Holliday, who is a model. She's after my time. I'm an old man, but I'm familiar with her. Demi Lovato, who is also non-binary. Janelle Monáe, who I absolutely love.
I love Janelle.
I love Janelle Monáe. Jojo Siwa is pansexual. Bella Thorne, who is also an actress / model, I think. I'm familiar. She's, again, one of those younger, like, super trendy people right now that I'm just not hip with. But Brendan Urie from Panic at the Disco fame. Young Blood is pansexual. And then Prince. I was contemplating bringing up Prince because he was kind of problematic.
I love how you put him last. Like, good.
Yes, I put in parentheses problematic, but so
Prince?
He was
no, not at all.
No, so Prince was horribly homophobic and like did a lot of damage, but he was pansexual. So there's that. So yeah,
good things and bad things, guys.
Yeah,
no one's perfect, but.
It goes to show that we're just like everybody else and we're capable of being shitty human beings.
I don't want to mention the other ones. Well, I want to keep it positive.
Yeah, exactly.
We all know who they are. We can just move on.
Yep.
Oh my god. So, Janelle Monáe. My pansexual love knows no bounds.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't.
Because, people like, that's what I say when I talk about like my disdain for cis men.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Janelle Monáe exists.
Yeah.
Like women and non-binary people exist, so why would I even think about getting together with another cis man ever in a million years?
It's true. It's very true.
Like there are better options out there than cisgendered men. So.
And sometimes you get a gem, but most of the time it's the contents of a porta potty for the most part, guys.
Right?
So step it up.
Right. Yep.
Wow. So you're 30, you said you're 37? Did I hear that correctly?
37, yes.
37. I'm also 37. How about that? So we can be old together. How have all these identities and intersect together? How has that informed where you are in your life now? Your job, where you live, your being in the world. How do all those things, how are they compatible? How do they show up in your everyday life?
So, being single, that I think that is the most profound way that, because I am sort of like exploring and dating and doing the dating apps and stuff like that, but like it's really showing me, it's a really quick and easy way to have people show their true colors. So in a lot of ways, it's a great filtration system. Like one of my favorite things to do is to ask people if they've been vaccinated, and that's like, you'll know in 5 seconds if there's any future there at all, based on the answer to that question, right? So like being pansexual and being trans and being this, that, and the other thing, like I have no problem being alone. I am fantastic company. I'm hilarious. I'm hot. Okay, so like I'm totally fine with being by myself. I'm really good at it. And I would rather be by myself than surround myself with people who have such big feelings and opinions about people being pansexual, people having bodily autonomy as it relates to polyamory, having really big feelings about transgendered people. Like, it makes it really easy to find quality people or find lower quality people and not be around those people. So, which I love, which I think is a lot of people would hear that and be like, oh no, but like me, I think it's great. I think it's amazing.
I think, stating what you're just putting all that out there, because when I was, when I first started dating, I put like questioning or pansexual or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I remember there are certain apps where you can ask questions, right? And so I'd ask question, I would say, well, would you date someone who's bisexual? And of course I put yes. And every time I checked the other person's answer to that question on a profile, they would always say no. Mm-hmm. I mean, the phobia was intense. And so what I did is I just started only setting the filter for queer profiles. Like I don't feel the need. I'm not going to explain my identity to you. I'm not going to try to get you to be okay with me. I want to be with someone who's already okay to start with.
Yep.
If there's anything about me that you disapprove of on spec, then keep moving. I got better things to do. So that's what I did. And then when I started doing my polyamory journey, I just got an app that was focused on like ENM, ethical non-monogamy, polyamory.
Which one do you use out of curiosity?
Bloom Community is a pretty good one. I like that one's pretty queer friendly and intersectional friendly. But also, I don't as much like the apps per se. I like to meet people in person if possible. During COVID, that was impossible, so I just did my best. But now Bloom has a bunch of cool events, so you can go on there. This is becoming. I should be sponsored by Bloom at this point. But Bloom Community, you guys, go on that app, and it'll show you events in your area. And there's a lot of stuff on Zoom too. So if it's not near you, you can still log in. So yeah, I recommend that app for sure. But I've had more success meeting people in person, and then budding with them, because you bud and then the other person buds and then you match and chat.
That's adorable.
Yeah, like the coffee bean app and this coffee beans.
I'm gonna have to try that because my go-to is OKC, which is OkCupid, because I've never heard of Bloom. Like OkCupid it's got like it's E&M integrated. It's queer integrated. It has all the pronouns, including pronouns and all that fun stuff. So far, it's been the most progressive, inclusive one that I found. Like, you can even link your profiles with your partners if you're E&M. So that, because it adds legitimacy, because, that helps you avoid, like, oh, well, me and my wife are kind of don't ask, don't tell, so we just don't talk about it, but which usually means, oh, I'm cheating and just using polyamory as a license. Yeah. So if your profiles are linked, then it adds legitimacy to that. So so far, OKC's been the best.
If somebody has a primary partner, I always need to talk to them first. I need to hear it from their mouth before I go forward. I will not help anybody cheat. Won't do it.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. And that's the ethical part of ethical non-monogamy. It's not cheating.
The part that a lot of people tend to forget about, but
and I was talking about this yesterday with some people in the poly community, and for me, there's something somewhat insidious about saying you can only have sex with me and you can only have sex when I want to have sex, which to me that's different than consent. Consent is saying, I am okay with doing something, I'm excited about doing something, but then there's also there's always a place of compromise. So if you're monogamous, this is the one person you can be with. And they're like, no, I don't want to. If that's a repeating pattern, you're going through a long slump, there are going to be ups and downs. But, there's something about, we were talking about how if you want sex with your partner and they're not available for that for whatever reason, and you go out and you have a sexual experience with somebody, if you're feeling that they're blocked in that way, you need that, you can get that out of your system. And then you go home. And we find, at least I have found, and I've found with others, that I feel more connected to my partner, more interested in them. That if that sexual need is getting in the way, is that making me needy? I get that satisfied, and then I can do whatever with my partner because I feel more abundant that way. People in the polyamory community need a certain amount of sex to feel abundant. And by the way, just because you're polyamorous or E&M doesn't mean you want to have sex all the time. That's also not.
Right. Asexual polyamorous folks exist. So this is advanced AP level stuff right here, where when you start to dissect it down to romantic and sexual. So you can be pan-romantic and asexual, or be pansexual or aromantic. There's more than one there's more than one aspect to it, which is super fascinating. Yeah. And people whenever I tell people that, and they've never even heard the term aromantic or panromantic or biromantic or whatever, and headcanons all around. So it's fascinating. The fact that people want to reduce themselves to this particularly small means of existing and interacting with people it just blows my mind. It absolutely blows. And that's not to say that there's anything wrong with that if that's what makes them happy and no one is being limited beyond more than they want to be limited. I don't care. But for me, I just could not imagine looking at another person and telling them, no, you can't do that. Yeah. Why would you feel so boldened as to think that you are entitled to that level of control over another person? It just doesn't equate in my brain.
Well, I think monogamy goes back to, from my understanding of monogamy, it goes back to getting married, goes back to the church, goes back to the Middle Ages. Because before that, marriage meant a lot of different things, and people kind of did a lot of what they wanted to. And the party line is, people were running amok and we had to, create some order. But I honestly think the more likely it's like, how do we control everybody? We make them ashamed of their bodies. If we make sex only about procreation, and people don't want to procreate, then we'll create a shame, we'll create this dissonance, and we'll be able to tell people what they can and can't do, and it'll be easier to control.
Footnote: misogyny, footnote, purity culture, footnote, white supremacy, like all this other fun stuff. Like it's like there's so much of it like monogamy is rooted in so much of that, in my personal opinion. And that coming from a very conservative white family, it's crazy. It's absolutely insane.
Women as property, the subjugation of women.
Exactly. That's what marriage was. Marriage was a transaction. Marriage was like a contract to like create more esteem and more wealth for your family in some way, straight or some ways. Like women were seen as property in a marriage. And it's still very much like that for a lot of people. And it makes me sad. It makes me so sad.
It's still here now. I mean,
yes.
And here in this country, it's still here, and it takes different forms. It just comes back in a different way. And then you have it's like, well, thanks for the maid I can have sex with. Here's 5 goats. Up until relatively recently, when the idea of, maybe I should get married for love. Maybe I should do that. I have a friend who's going through a messy divorce right now. And what I find about monogamy is if monogamy works for you, I'm really happy for you. I'm not saying you shouldn't be monogamous. There are different ways to be monogamous. I think we should all be, intersexually monogamous, be aware, of the different implications of it. So you look at the divorce rate in this country, of people getting married and they've spent a lifetime with somebody. It's like, well, you don't know that. And I think it's better to turn over the fear of losing somebody and just accept that you are where you're at right now, rather than cling to them and believe that you're going to be with them forever. And I have another friend who was with someone for 10 years and then they got married. And then 3 years in, they got divorced. It just wasn't working. So I don't know what that dynamic was. I'd love to talk to them in detail about it.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
And I told my friend, I said, think of this less. And this is what my friend, friend who was with the person for 10 years said. They released an email and they said, to their followers, they're like a content creator, and they said, and a meditation teacher, that don't think of this. I don't think of it as a failure. I think of it as a graduation. Just think of every moment in your life as a learning lesson, and that you move forward and go, well, I can be at a new level of happy. So whenever he calls me to just feel his feelings about the divorce, I say, remember, this is a graduation. This is a transitional period for you. You're learning what you like, what makes you happy. He also happens to be burgeoningly poly, so that's fun. So we can go on our journey. Poly buddies.
You're converting people out here. You're finding the vulnerable, soon to be divorcees, and just
to my radical
indoctrinating them.
We have clothes like being gay. The agenda is right here. So it's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yep. It's funny. So do you want to hear my most delicious, non-monogamous, story? Because, it's kind of petty and I love it. So.
No, I don't want to hear it. We're done. No. Yes, that's fine. That's why you're here.
So I had a friend, right? And I was, the last relationship that I was in, which ended almost 2 years ago, he used to date my former best friend. Or no, I'm sorry. When she was still my best friend, they just started dating. And then I moved across the country and we lost contact. And then she ended up being a terrible human being. So we stopped talking. And then fast forward 7 years and they're divorcing. And he pops up in my E&M groups on Facebook. And he's got a very unique name. So I knew who he was instantly. And we started talking and ended up getting together and having a very serious relationship for a few years. And I was helping raise his kids and take care of his house and all that and everything. So this is the soon-to-be ex-husband of my former best friend, right? And then I become best friends with her other former best friend and start talking to her about E&M and kink and all this other stuff. And she starts, we hosted this really, really popular Halloween swinging party at our house. We built a cross and the whole thing. Like, it was amazing. It was just, we dedicated the whole house. It was a costume party. It was amazing, and it was really popular, right? So she and her husband came to the party after me and her talking for a really long time about all of this stuff, and I ended up fucking her husband at the party. And she ended up fucking my partner at the time. So it was a full swap at that party.
Right.
And it was funny because I felt like I had taken all of the parts about his ex-wife's life and just turned them all queer and kinky as fuck. And that's just the petty part of me, but it amuses me. It's kind of sad when you think about it, but it still makes me laugh. So I took her best friend, I took her man, and then fucked her best friend's man. And she was just scandalized by the whole thing. It was amazing. So I get it. Converting of people around me tends to happen. I'm not even trying to do it, but one of my best friends in the whole world, his name is Jeff. He calls me his sex Yoda.
Dude, do not.
Exactly.
Don't try to have sex.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
Oh, baby. You gotta unlearn what you have learned. If you want to have good sex, you gotta do that. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So he knows that I'm polyamorous and pansexual, and I've done a lot of things, and I'm very candid and I'm actually quite proud of my body count, which is quite high. And so I lost count.
You're proud of your count, but you lost count? Wait a minute.
Well, no, it's just because I stopped counting after 500.
Shit. Yeah. Well, is it a lot? I mean, I guess it depends on the person, but that's a cool number, for sure. Yeah.
So I don't mind talking about it because at least if there's one thing you're going to know about me is that the head game is on point because I've had a lot of practice. So yeah, it's hedonist.
Yes.
Yeah. And people ask me, they're like, how? I'm like, for one, I have been sexually active for over 20 years. And some of them were 2 or 3 at a time. So it adds up after a while.
Like a foursome, a threesome and a foursome?
Well, there's been more than that, but you get the point. But it wasn't one after the other, after the other, after the other. Some of them were at the same time. So
delicious.
It adds up after 20 years. So
it does.
So yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. There've been some duds.
That's why I think in this, going back to the play parties are a great place to explore and just try things and just have that immediacy if you need that. If you can have sex with someone you don't know, great. If not, meet someone at the party, get their number, and see them later, or just be around. Be a supersexual, which is being around that energy and being flirty without actually having sex. It can be a big turn on to just be in a room full of people having sex, or hear them having sex in the next room, or whatever the situation is. I think it can, if it's run well, if it's run respectfully and intersectionally, and that's the problem, is not all these places are queer friendly, but I'm grateful I found a couple of queer friendly organizations out here that do them. So looking forward to
to hell with you and all of your California progressiveness.
Listen.
I couldn't be farther away from that unless I started swimming. So I hate you for that.
Most people don't know this, but Micah lives about 5,000 miles beneath the Earth's crust in an undisclosed location, somewhere on the planet. Yeah. Yeah. I live on the opposite side of the trailer park of the UN, the absolute opposite side. I could not be farther away from you. Thank God for the internet to bring us together for our hedonistic, immoral ways that we're talking about today.
Yeah, we have a way of finding each other. It's great.
Okay,
That's the other great thing about being so fucking loudly queer.
Yes,
is that you're easy to spot. We could see you from a mile away.
It's so interesting how even if you're not being loud, I'll be just walking down the street and it'll be like, oh, queer. You just know. You can just sense the energy, and it's not even that they're wearing queer things, but like you're just like, yeah, definitely. It's you're. Once I became out, like my radar just went off the charts.
Right.
I can't explain it.
Yeah.
So at this party, were people having sex in costume?
Yes.
Like, oh, that's so cool. That is so awesome.
That was the last Halloween. That was my last Halloween as a cisgender person.
Oh, yeah.
And I was Poison Ivy. That I made a custom like cosplay level like gets costume with a corset and the wig, and a friend of mine from California actually made me like this amazing like plant adorned headdress and like a scarf and like pasties and this, that, and the other thing, and it was amazing.
Wow.
I loved it. We had a Jessica Rabbit at the party. We had
oh my god,
a Beetlejuice. We had all kinds of stuff.
You had amazing. A Beetlejuice.
Mm-hmm.
Was the Beetlejuice giving BJs?
Very maybe.
See, that would.
I can neither confirm or deny.
Yeah, that would tie.
Because what happens at the party
stays.
You know, you gotta protect like the space. Like you gotta like, yeah.
I mean,
I'm not gonna out BJ like that.
I'm not gonna go to every Beetlejuice and be like, I know.
I see you. I know what you did.
So you look back on that with a lot of joy, right? But there's no dysphoria now that you're in your transition. You're in your true gender.
Well, there is, just because, I live in America and I am a lower income individual who doesn't, have health insurance because it's too expensive. So I'm fully and completely socially transitioned, but the other stuff is almost inaccessible to me. So the dysphoria is definitely still there, but I've figured out ways to sort of combat it a little bit. So like the clothing and the binding and that stuff really helps. And then having people around me that don't misgender me is extremely helpful. So that's been the most important part to me. The other stuff may or may not ever happen, but the way things are going,
I think it will. Well,
yeah. Well, I've been advertising on TikTok that if anyone outside of the US needs a husband, I could use a visa. So like in Canada, in Norway, in Denmark, all those really super amazing European countries where they don't have incredibly debilitating anti-trans legislation and have universal health care. Yeah.
What is that like, you guys? What do you think that's like?
What is that like?
Email me and
relate.
let me know.
Can't relate.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Oh, well, in the spirit of thinking about the world and other countries, if you could share with somebody who's going through what you're going through, maybe they haven't transitioned yet, or they haven't embodied their true gender. They're scared, they're unsure, they're surrounded by people that are misgendering them that don't understand. What was one thing you would say to somebody who's going through that right now?
Right now, I would say do whatever you feel is necessary to keep yourself safe, first and foremost. Everything else is consequential after that. So if you don't feel comfortable, because I actually have a lot of privilege as a trans person. I'm 6 feet 220. I'm a huge dude. I'm covered in tattoos. I have a really nasty attitude around people I don't know. I just scream, stay the fuck away from me, for the most part. And people do. So that's a lot of my privilege. And not a lot of people have that same privilege, so they might not be as willing or able to be as out as I am. Even now, I still don't correct everybody. Like, I just started a new job and only one person knows because only one person was bothered to ask my pronouns. And I told them, and I was very honest. Like, when asked, I will tell them. Right. But I'm not going to correct people just because it's a new job. I'm still, like, feeling everyone out and, like, trying to decide who is cool and who's not.
There's a fatigue of, like, trying to get people to respect you the way you want to be respected. It can wear on you after a while.
Or whether they're willing to or care to. Like, that's because a lot of people tend to lack a fundamental level of empathy. So, Yeah, even if they're
Well put.
familiar with trans people and their existence, that doesn't necessarily mean they understand the importance of pronouns and like the right things to say, the wrong things to say, what things are called, and what things are slurs, what aren't slurs, and stuff like that. So, so the most important thing I would say is to just first and foremost, don't do anything you aren't comfortable doing. Just because with the way things are going, it's very dangerous for us right now. Very, very dangerous for us right now, and it's only going to get worse.
Yes.
So, outside of that, find ways to be yourself in a way that is safe. Like TikTok has been an amazing outlet for me. Amazing outlet. I built a platform of 20,000 plus people. I came out on TikTok. And I was shocked because I didn't think anyone would care. And thousands of people came out of the woodwork to be just the most amazing, loving, and supportive people in existence. And I've built a network of people who do get it and who do have empathy and who do actually give a shit about me as a human being. Because me being trans is not the only thing that is important about me. And there are far more interesting things about me. They actually care about that. So I love TikTok. Like a lot of people like to shit on it, and it's not perfect. Like the people that run the thing are also incredibly transphobic, but you gotta find ways to circumvent that. And as long as you sort of like play within the boundaries, then it can be very fulfilling. And just try, like, my biggest piece of advice is that I don't care if they're your parents. I don't care if they're your siblings. I don't care if they're your boss at work. I don't give a shit who they are. If they don't accept you, they're not worth having around you. Because I've been no contact with my family for almost 10 years. They don't even know that I'm trans. I'm very thankful for that because I already know how that would go. But protect your peace at all costs because it's worth protecting. It's worth protecting because blood is not more important than being who you really are and being comfortable enough doing that however you deem fit.
People thrive in environments where they're accepted and they're allowed to grow and they're supported. Right. And if you're not in that environment, get to an environment where you can be and do whatever you need to do. Baby steps, take it one day at a time. If they tell us to shut up, just get louder, but in a safe space. If you want, in a safe space, where you can get louder without having your security, your safety directly threatened in the way that we're seeing around the country right now with these laws.
And if you can't do it yourself, it's okay. I am the loud, crazy uncle. I can tell people I went to prison, and I pull it off. I'm a really scary, overbearing dude. So I will tell them off for you. It's fine. I got you. I got you.
Good. Well, Micah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing with us today. I'm really excited to have you on. Please come back again.
I will. I'm be happy to come back whenever.
Yay! All right, everyone. Stay safe, my beautiful humans, and bye.
Thank you for listening to the Pan Talk podcast. Don't forget to rate, like, comment, and subscribe wherever your ears absorb our content. And remember, if you're interested in being a Pan Talk guest, you can email us at pantalkpod@gmail.com. Until next time, my beautiful humans, have a fantastic day.